photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they are so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
Good evening. Welcome to the judging of our second category for the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize. Tonight we are judging the family category. We're thrilled to have you join us from wherever you are in the world to allow us to celebrate the incredible artistry and skill of photography. I'm Robin Campbell. I'm the Foundation Director of the Australian Photographic Prize, and I'm your host for tonight's event. I've been invited here on behalf of Daniel Bingham, the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize Competition Director. Also, working very hard to make this event a reality is our Director of Judging, Chris Anderson, who has expertly curated an incredible panel of judges that you'll be hearing from tonight, who I'm sure you will agree, they're from all over the world. They are the best of the best. Thank you so much, Chris, for all of your efforts there. And to Nathan Bingham, who is expertly running our live stream. In Australia, we have a custom that we perform at the beginning of meetings, and it's called the Acknowledgement of Country. I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which this event is hosted today. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. The Australian Photographic Prize would not be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. We'd like to thank the following organisations for their support. Nikon Australia. They're our major sponsor, and they are awarding the overall winner with $5,000 in Nikon product. Thank you so much, Julie, Kylie, the whole Nikon Australia team, I think most of which are in Singapore at the moment, photographing the tennis. We really appreciate your sponsorship. Thank you to our division sponsors, AZO. They're sponsoring the 2025 Creative Photographer of the Year with an AZO CG2420 monitor, got it right, valued at over $2,500. Thank you so much, AZO. Thank you to KL and Gerdox for sponsoring our Classic division, and to Ilford for sponsoring our Single Capture division. Also, a huge thank you to Photography Studies College, who are kindly donating $1,500 in scholarship for a course at PSC for a high school student photographer of the year. How great is that? Encouraging the next generation of photographers. And to the print shop, who are donating a print consult to A1 Prints, and it's just an incredible gift for our student photographer of the year, valued at around $5,000. So that is awesome. Thank you so much, Print Shop. So to our audience, judges, entrants, please show your appreciation by visiting their websites, tagging them in your posts, and letting them know that their support does make a difference. So this is how tonight will run. Each finalist image in the family category will be judged by our live panel, who will provide live commentary and feedback. Individual scores will be displayed as we go, and at the end of the session, the winner will be selected offline by a panel of judges from the top 5 scoring entries. First, second, and third places will be announced during our live awards event next Sunday, the 20th of July. So make sure you mark your calendar and come along and join us. So now to run through our category rules and to introduce you to our incredibly esteemed judging panel, we would like to welcome our very esteemed, absolute legend, all the way from the UK, panel mentor, Kelly Brown. Welcome, Kelly.
Oh, thank you so much. Honestly, it is a complete privilege to get my words out right. I'm a little nervous doing this online. I've been part of your team since the get-go, and I can tell you it is watching it grow every year is amazing. So yeah, I am excited to be here. I am your panel mentor for the family category, and I'm going to read to you the category rules. All right, images containing 2 or more individuals sharing a close emotional bond. Images should show a moment that highlights connection, love, and intimacy between individuals or family members. This may include parents, children, grandparents, or friends. Maternity photographs are welcome in this category and may focus on the mother's emotions or bond with the unborn child. So we have, as Robin said, an incredible panel of judges. I'm just going to very quickly introduce them to you. Or are we going to go to our run through first?
Yeah, I think we'll do the run through, Kelly. I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, we're going to see our All right. So on our panel, we have 7 judges from all over the world. I'm going to read through their names very quickly. We have Amber Griffin from New Zealand. She is one of New Zealand's most celebrated portrait and commercial photographers. We have Boots Nelson. She is an award-winning editorial and portrait photographer from Australia. We have Emma Jane from the UK. She is a newborn and family photographer and educator. Frances Suter. She's a triple master of the AIPP, master with distinction of the NZIPP, and icon master. She specialises in portrait, landscape, and commercial photography in Australia. And Hannah Nerritt from Sweden. She's a fine art portrait photographer, crazy talented at composites. She is a fellow of the SWPP and an icon master. We have Harriet, who is also a multi-award-winning photographer. She is from Australia. She does commercial and she's also an educator and the co-host of a podcast called When Harry Met Sally. And we have James from the UK, James Musselwhite, sorry, I should have said your full name, who is a portrait photographer, also an educator, a fellow of SWPP, known for his well-known project, The Portrait of a Wrestler. And an Ellencrom ambassador. So very, very highly skilled, talented panel of judges we have with you for the family category. All right, so we have, now I'm just, yep, we are all on here. And I think we're ready to rock and roll. Okay, on our panel first, we have Emma Jane, Francis Suter, Hannah Narrett, we have Harriet Tarbock and James Musselwhite for our first image, please. All right, thank you, judges. We have a score of 80, a silver award. And I might get a comment, if I can, from Francis.
Yes, look, this is a very beautiful portrait. You can really feel the closeness of the family there together, beautifully posed, got a lovely feel to it. Just a little bit of the highlight on the boy on the left, on his shoulder and his cheek, is a little bit overpowering. That could be brought down a little bit, but altogether it is a stunning, very emotional, beautiful portrait.
All right, thank you so much, Francis. Next image, please. All right, thank you, judges. We have a score of 81, a silver award. And if I can get a comment, please, from James.
Yeah, this is a well composed family image with a lot of subjects in there that, if anyone knows who's shot this sort of thing before, can be quite testing to handle. Good use of color harmony throughout, working on that analogous color scheme, which suits the image. A little bit of attention to detail, particularly with some of the foot placement and some of the hand placements in the frame, making them feel more natural and less forced, would elevate it to the next category. But congratulations to the author.
All right, excellent feedback. Thank you so much, James. Can we have our next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have a score of 83, silver award.
Yeah, I think I will challenge that. I think I can do, I think
Great.
I'm in that firing range.
Excellent, Harriet. Harriet is on a score of 88, and she's going to challenge this image.
Yeah, this image just exudes emotion. The crop is rather tight, and I can feel, especially sort of on the upper frame and left-hand side, it is a little tight, and perhaps just a tiny bit more space would have even got it higher for me. However, the emotion that I can feel from the older woman in the image, the tears in her eyes and the happiness that she's exuding, those beautiful hands that are there, and that connection with the other person in the image is just really emulating through the screen to me. So yeah, I encourage you to kind of feel that emotion, fellow judges, and have another look.
All right, thank you, Harriet. Can I get a comment, please, from Hannah?
So I fully agree on the emotions in this picture. It's radiating love and care, and I love that. I scored this an 83. The reason I didn't go higher is that the very bright arm that is across her neck, and also maybe lowering that arm a little bit so she doesn't feel quite so almost strangled. That's a strong word, but if you get what I mean, it's a bit tight, her grip. So lowering the brightness of that arm is what I would recommend. But it is a beautiful and very emotional portrait, and I'm definitely willing to listen here to my fellow judges.
All right. Thank you, Hannah. Can I get a comment, please, from Emma?
Yeah, so similar to what Hannah said, beautiful, beautiful image. I think, you know, the tear on, I'm going to assume, the grandmother's face really brings that emotion up for me. I really quite like the close crop because for me that adds to the image and the intimacy. But it was the left wrist and the right hand more than anything that was pulling me away from that. I'm sat at 85, so silver with distinction. And I'm prepared to listen. But for me, the crop actually was something that I enjoyed.
All right, thank you, Emma. And can we get a right of reply, please, Harriet?
Yeah, I can see what everyone's said here. I sort of almost think that kind of really tight embrace is almost just adding to it. And like Emma said, that there's a tight crop and there's a tight hug and there's just so much intimacy in it that I just feel like everything in this image is coming together. Yes, that's a little bit of a highlight there. There's still detail in there. I can see hairs, all across that wrist. So it's not like it's blown out or anything. I just noticed as well, there's this beautiful, feels like, is that a tattoo on the sort of bottom left-hand side there that's kind of emulating perhaps what the young person has and then what the older woman's wearing as well, and the connection there. Just little things I'm still enjoying looking at this image as we talk.
All right, thank you, Harriet. We're currently sitting on a score of 83. Harriet, if you could keep your score at 88, and judges, if you could please re-enter your scores. And the image stays at 83, but great discussion, and it is a silver award. Congratulations. Thank you, judges. Can we please have our next image? Thank you, judges. We have a score of 83, a silver award. And you're sitting right on the average there, Frances. Can I get a comment, please, from you?
Yes, look, the concept is very beautiful. The cultural connection with that family and their practice or a cultural event. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it doesn't matter. But I can really feel that bonding within the family there. Also, the environment shows us where they are and a good bond to the environment. The only thing that I think could be possibly improved is that highlight in the background, which I found a little bit dominant. It sort of pulls me out of the image a bit, but otherwise a very well thought through family portrait.
Yeah, lots of personality there. All right, before we have our next image, we're going to do a quick judge change. So I'm going to bring on Amber and Boots, and we're going to just take off Emma, and we might take off Hannah. All right, thank you, judges. We have our next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 80, a silver award. And you're all relatively close there to the average. Can I get a score, a comment, please, from Amber?
Yeah, certainly. The connection between these two young children, who I assume are sisters, is really evident in this image. It's a beautifully captured portrait of these two girls. I think in order to improve the image, some of the little hairs that are coming out of the younger sister's face area are really distracting, and it would be advantageous to the image if those things were just toned down or removed. But a beautifully captured portrait, well done.
All right, excellent feedback. Thank you, Amber. Next image, please. All right, while our judges are putting in their scores, we've got quite a few people joining us on YouTube live. Welcome from wherever you are in the world. We are seeing the top 30 images in the family category being judged right now. And if you see me looking off to the side, I'm looking at my AZO monitor, who is a major sponsor of this category, where I can see our judges enter their scores and I can see the beautiful photography that's been entered. All right, thank you, judges. We have a score of 80, a silver award. And James, you're right on the average there. Can I get a comment from you, please?
Absolutely. Again, a testing combination of subjects to photograph effectively together. I appreciate the gold wash that's been put across this, the warm tones that we've used in the post-processing to bring those skin tones into harmony, which can sometimes be difficult with children of this age. The hand placement, although feels quite forced, is been well done. There is symmetry within there to elevate it to the next level. I'd be looking to tidy up some of the elements in the background and bring that crop in a little bit tighter from the bottom up to eliminate those two bottom hands and bring us closer to the central point of interest of the image.
Yeah, amazing feedback. Thank you, James. Can we have our next image, please? All right, thank you, judges. We have a score of 78, which is highly commended. And
can I challenge that, please?
thank you, Frances. We have
Sorry.
85 who is going to challenge this image.
Right. Look, we are presented with something really, really special here, that actually raises a lot of question. And that was my starting point. I went into the 85 range because it really fascinates me what's going on here. But first of all, technically, I think the color, there is a beautiful harmony with the color, how it's lit from the background with the backlight, with the warm tones. I thought that was really, really effective. And then, you know, it leaves a lot of question open of this lady, what's actually happening. And then her headpiece, which is so specially decorated with all the stars and the moons. So there's a strong connection for me here with the astro area, with the moons and the stars. And yeah, I just think you should have another look and find your story in there. I think there's so much to talk about and look into. So yes, I'd just encourage you to sort of look at this image again, open-minded, and come up in the silver range.
All right, thank you so much, Frances. James, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much, Francis, for bringing this up for a challenge. I've listened to what you've said, specifically with regards to the color harmony, and it does give that otherworldly galactical edge to it. I scored this 78, placing it in the highly commended. I just felt that there were just one too many ideas working here together to actually make it something that a viewer has to work a little bit harder to get something from. And I felt particularly maybe the choice of background wasn't the right choice for this. I think the creator and the artist should trust the wardrobe, should trust the headdress, should trust the body paint, if that is body paint that's been used on the body to decorate and give us that galactic feel, and certainly to trust their lighting, which is, as you say, really well handled. But I just feel that everything was just a little bit too much, a little bit too obvious, and certainly the paintwork around the bump I found particularly distracting. It feels like it's almost going in on itself, and not the central piece of this image, of this maternity portrait. The central, most brightest part of this maternity portrait is the face, and I found that element a little bit distracting, and that was holding me back from going into the next category. But I'm certainly listening and want to hear what other judges have to say.
All right, thank you, James. Amber, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, certainly. I scored this image a 77, and I actually feel really comfortable in the highly commended range for this image for a lot of the reasons that you have already said, James. For me, I feel like the disjointedness of all of the elements within this portrait, just on a compositional tone, really fight against each other. And I think that with a little bit more finessing of craft, then this photographer would be able to really tell the nuances of this story just in a subtler and more appropriate way. But I really do appreciate the narrative aspects of this image. And I think that it has a lot going for it. But I do really feel that it sits in the highly commended range.
All right, thank you, Amber. And can I get your right of reply, please, Francis?
Yes, look, that's all exactly what makes that image the nearly overload in the narrative. So I think, James, you mentioned about the face and the stars, but for me it all comes actually together, because yes, there is something happening there in her belly. Maybe she doesn't. For me, my interpretation is she probably the focus is on her face. That is the most important thing, and maybe it is all about her and not what's in that belly. And there is a confrontation going on in this person, and the strong light in her face, and there's also the strong light in the belly. It really confronts with each other, and that's what I think is the photographer trying to bring out with this image, with the strong light and the stars in the background, and then the stars in it. She might be on stage, she might be an actor, she might not have time for a pregnancy. So I found this comes out quite nicely, and I do understand that there is a very intense conflict with different things, but I think the photographer did that on purpose to bring that feeling out, that there is, at the moment, there might be a very strong conflict in this person's life happening. So yes,
right.
I'll just like you to have another look at it, and bring it into the silver range, because I definitely think for the narrative idea and how it is presented to us, it's worth of a silver award.
All right, thank you so much, judges. Francis, if you could please keep your score at 85, and judges, if you could re-enter your scores. All right, we have moved 1 point to 79. Thank you. Great discussion, judges, and some excellent feedback for the entrant. If we could please have our next image. Thank you, judges. We have a silver award of 80. Well done. If I can please get a comment from Harriet. Can I get a comment from you, please?
Yes, of course. This is a lovely moment that the photographer's captured. You can see the intimacy and the connection between the two people in this image. It's really quite beautiful. To elevate this, I think that a little more consideration around the crop of the image. There's quite a lot of negative space at the top of the frame. It's very tight around the bottom, sort of especially right of the frame, and some distracting sort of elements that you can see sort of distracting my eye behind. Also, the picture itself that they're looking at, there's quite a few highlights on it, and I really, as the image is about them looking at this picture, I really would like to know what that picture's all about. I can see that when I really zoom in, I can see that it looks like a family. It looks like there's a little kid there. There's a signpost with lots of wonderful cities in there. I just can't really see what they're looking at, and I think that this is part of the the message of the image. So just a little bit more clarity there, and that would have kind of really elevated it.
Excellent feedback. Thank you so much, Harriet. Could we please have our next image? All right, thank you, judges. We have a score of 81, a silver award. And would anyone like to?
Yeah, okay, I'll challenge that image, please, Kelly.
Thank you, Boots. I'm sitting here looking at my judging panel. Not everyone on the live stream can see the panel, except I can. So very excited to hand it over to Boots with a challenge on 87.
Thank you. When this image first came through, when we watched the preview, it really jumped out at me then. I feel it's a sublime color palette, beautiful statue of this gorgeous woman. She's been posed very, very well, and it's a really strong image. There's a really strong connection that she's giving us, and I just think that the lighting is really well deserving. I'm in the silver distinction range, and I just think on the posing and the lighting and the wardrobe, I think it's well deserving of a silver distinction, and I'd like to hear what the other judges think.
All right, thank you, Boots. James, could we get a comment from you, please?
Certainly. I scored this 77, placing it in the highly commended category. And I certainly agree with Boots with regards to the use of colour throughout the whole image. It works really well. It's a real subtle use of colour, real earthy tones. When we go in a little bit closer to the image, though, we see that there's been a use of either a neural filter or frequency separation across the face that hasn't been handled with great refinement. And this is a classically posed, completely controllable set and model in this situation that the photographer has complete control over. But certainly that leads into the post-processing as well, where that can be controlled, it can be refined. I agree with Boots that the lighting has been well handled, but I don't believe it's been handled to a level that can bring us into an award level. I believe that there are slight refinements, slight changes that we can use to elevate the bump, to elevate the face, to bring that through. But certainly the connections there, and the photographer has a great connection with their subjects. And with regards to posing, there are two things I want to draw the panel's attention to. That top hand is very dominant, very flat, very back extended. The bottom hand is actually really, really lovely and well placed and soft on that bump. I just think that top hand just a little bit dominant, and the crop through the bottom of the legs, through those knees, just bring it up just a little bit higher, which will bring that intensity and that connection and bring us into the next level of silver.
All right, thank you, James. Harriet, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, I've got to say I had this just in silver, so at 82, I thought it sort of deserved just that little bump, but I do agree with a lot of what James is saying about how it would kind of get to that next level for me. There is something um, going on with the sort of processing on the face. It feels a little, perhaps it was a bit softer. The focus is more on the belly, and they tried to bring it back a little bit. Um, but yes, that bottom hand is gorgeous. I think a lot of people do maternity shots and it's a very classic pose, and it can feel very forced, but that bottom hand feels very caring and natural. So that's beautiful. But yes, the crop again, it sort of feels almost a little bit tilted, and it could just be tightened up a little bit and really, really kind of made a bit more dominant to kind of really bring us into this image.
All right, thank you, Harriet. And Boots, for your right of reply, please.
Yeah, the top hand to me is a little bit modest. She's holding that cloth around her together, so it is strong there, but you know, she's in a very vulnerable pose, being showing most of her body. But I just kept getting drawn back to her eyes, and that lovely necklace. That's a bit cultural, so I think the top hand for me is showing a bit of her personality, that she's, you know, quite strongly holding that cloth together. But yeah, I'm just drawn back to her face and those eyes. So I think I was actually in the silver distinction, but I think it's definitely worth the silver. So I encourage everyone. Actually, it's already on the silver, is it? Am I right, Kelly? It's already.
Yeah, it's already sitting at 81.
Yeah. So yeah, just encourage you all to give to reward this photographer with a few more points.
All right, thank you, judges. Thank you, Boots. If you could please keep your score at 87, and judges, if you could please re-enter your scores. And it stays at 81, a silver award. Great discussion. All right, before we have our next image, we might do another quick judge change. If I could please bring back onto the panel Emma and Hannah, and we're going to give Harriet and Francis a quick break. Thank you, judges. When you're ready, we'll have our next image, please. Thank you, judges. All right, we have a score of 86, a silver with distinction, and
I would like to challenge, please.
a challenge from Amber on 90. Take it away.
This is an incredibly moving and powerful image. The way that the photographer has chosen to treat this image and leave it in its authenticity, it's not been overworked. It's been really, really beautifully and subtly lit in order to allow the different elements within the image to speak for itself, speak for themselves. I think that it's a really powerful narrative that is fairly obvious to everybody, I hope. I also really, really love the way that the woman's scar is echoed in the rip in her jeans down the bottom there. I think that it's been incredibly well crafted. I love the echo between the very, very short haircuts that they both have. And I just think that this deserves to be in the gold range.
All right, thank you, Amber. Can I get a comment, please, from, I might go to Emma first, if that's okay. Oh, you're muted, Emma.
Sorry. So I've scored this 84 in the silver category. I mean, the emotion speaks volumes, and you know, you can just even like the hand placements for me, really, you know, that emotion comes through. It's so strong, and it grabbed me instantly. What's kept me away from moving up to the next category is the man's shoulder, just given how strong the facial expressions are. And, you know, obviously, like I say, the hand placement for me is a very caring and strength, like there's a lot of strength in those hand placements. But I just keep going back to his shoulder. And, you know, I just wish that the highlights were slightly brought down a bit, just so that I can kind of focus on where that emphasis and where that storytelling is. So for me, I'm listening. I'm listening, but for me, that would have elevated it slightly.
All right, thank you, Emma. Can I get a comment from Hannah, please?
I scored this an 86, and I fully agree that this story is so powerful, right? I wish that that strong story was emphasized a bit more through the use of either lighting or color or both. So the lighting here is very soft, maybe more drama would have enhanced this, again, powerful message. And the colors are also quite soft. So maybe thinking about black and white here could have really underlined this important message that we're seeing here. But it's a really super strong image, and congratulations to the author.
All right, thank you, Hannah. James, did you want to add anything?
I just wanted to I just note something on review, and I've taken on everyone's points. I love the fact that Emma spoke to storytelling, because that's particularly with this category, that's what we're trying to do. Amber's points with regards, my initial feedback would be, hey, let's crop it above those jeans, make it a square crop, give it a bit of space, draw our eye from the top and the negative space down. But when Amber mentioned the tear on the jeans, I kind of felt that that was a really, really valid point. And what I've also noticed, and I wanted to draw the panel's attention to, is the deliberate choice of the photographer and the author to include the female's hand on the side of the face. And when we go and look into that hand, there are nails on that hand that have been bitten down through anxiety, through stress, through tension, through all of the trauma and everything that she's gone through to get to this phase. It's obviously a powerful storytelling image. I scored at 88. I placed it in silver with distinction, which I believe it sits in. But because of the points that Amber and other people on the panel have raised, I'm willing to move.
All right, thank you, James. Amber, your right of reply, please.
Thank you so much for the support there, James. The first thing that you did say about the storytelling aspect, I don't actually even think that is the main point of this category. I think the main point is connection and showing connection and emotion between different humans. I think that the obvious storytelling in this image is an exceptional added bonus of this image. Hannah, about the you wanting to see a bit more drama from maybe the lighting or other elements of other ways of injecting drama into this image. These people have gone through enough drama. They don't need any more drama in their lives. That is really obvious with the narrative aspects that are coming through from here already. And I think the photographer has made the right choice by allowing the subtle lighting to let those elements speak through. Emma, you mentioned that, I think the first thing you said was that the emotion in this image speaks volumes. And that is one of the main differentiating factors between a gold image or something that scores lower. The emotion is absolutely pouring out and smacking us in the face from this image. I don't know how you couldn't come up to gold. Have a heart, people. This is a gold.
All right, thank you, Amber. If you could please keep your score at 90, and judges, if you could please rescore. We have movement. We're sitting on 89, a silver with distinction. Very, very close. Amazing comments and feedback for the entrant, who I'm sure will be very, very happy with that result. Thank you, judges. Next image, please. All right, thank you, judges. We have a score of 83, a silver award. Well done. If I could please get a comment from Boots on this one.
Yeah, really sweet, sweet image, and like a lovely moment shared by this, I'm assuming, mother and her two daughters. A lovely connection. I just find the bright top left corner is a little bit distracting, drawing me out of the image. But overall, I just really enjoyed it. Great work.
All right, excellent feedback. Thank you. Next image, please. All right, thank you, judges. We have a score of 83, a silver award. And if I could please get a comment from Amber.
I actually battled a little bit with this image because I get a bit of a different, I'm not sure if the reading that I get from it is correct, but sorry, I'm actually going to pass this over if anybody else has got.
No, that's perfectly okay. Hannah,
you.
can I get a comment from you if that's okay?
This is a bit unusual for a maternity image, so I really applaud the use of creativity here. It's something that we don't see too often, and it's really beautifully executed with this veil, while we can still see all the details of this mom and her baby. To elevate this further, I would maybe suggest looking into the very dark spot at the lower left corner, which is pulling my attention a little bit. So maybe a vignette that is more even around the image could help bring the attention where it should be. But it's a lovely image and it's unusual, so well done.
All right, thank you so much for your feedback. And 83, silver award. Next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 81, a silver award. And James, you're very, very close to the average. Could I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I put this in, the panels put this in silver, a strong creative image with clear strengths in concept, technique, and impact. And it's certainly the concept that was the thing that was drawing me most to this. An original piece that always stands out in competition. and a good use of this almost sort of wet plate processing to give us a different, almost timeless energy to the piece, and with a clear narrative coming from father to daughter. What really elevated the image into silver for me was the connection of the young girl on the right hand side. I love the look straight into the camera and the impact, and this sort of concept I believe can be worked on and refined and used in future pieces to elevate to categories further beyond silver.
All right, excellent feedback. Thank you, James. Before we have our next image, we're going to do another quick judge change. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Boots. And we're going to bring back on Francis and Harriet, please. All right, let's have our next image, please. We wrote out our judges throughout the category to keep them nice and fresh. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 80, a silver award. And Francis, you're right on the average there. Can I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's a very stunning mother-son portrait, family portrait, beautiful tones, very well composed. I think the composition works really well with the boy leaning to the right and the mum in behind there on the left. I just found that knee in the foreground a little bit too light, so it just pulls my attention right back to her knee in the foreground. So if that could be brought back a little bit, but altogether a really beautiful family portrait.
All right, great feedback. Next image, please. As I was saying before, we are all looking at these images on calibrated monitors. I'm looking off to the side here at my ASO monitor, so we can see all of the detail in these images. Slightly different to a print competition, however, these monitors allow us to see everything. All right, thank you, judges. We have a score of 78, a highly commended. And if I could please get a comment from Hannah.
I love the fun moment that's been captured here. The emotion that is between these two people is lovely, and the smiles and laughs on their faces really feels genuine. So well done for capturing that. I feel the contrast between that they are very brightly lit and the background's really dark is not really helping this image. So maybe it gives the impression that they are in a dark room, which does not make sense to the story. So making this a bit more evenly lit would help. And I think the environment that they are in also contributes to the story here. So I would like to see more of that scene, but well done.
Amazing feedback. Thank you, judges. Next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 82, a silver award. Harriet, you're very close to the average. Can I get a comment from you, please? You're muted. Can you just unmute yourself?
Sorry, I didn't come off mute since my hiatus. Yeah, this is a beautiful family portrait, and actually for the sort of staged and composed element of it, it feels very natural still. There's a real warmth there, and although it's been really kind of obviously set up, it feels like they're all very connected. They're sort of every nook and cranny, they fitted into each other, which is just beautiful. And there's some lovely little highlights that are kind of, popping, especially, obviously on the mother, it being the central force in that, which I'm all here for. I feel maybe there's a little bit heavy-handed in post-production, that the clarity or the sharpening seems a little bit kind of intense. Maybe just bring it back. The vignettes quite intense. So just take it back 5-10% maybe, just to let that natural feel come out still. But yeah, I'm sure this family are in love with this picture.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Harriet. Next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 80, a silver award. Can I get a comment, please, from James?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about this image. This is an image with immediate impact. Having worked with albino pythons in the past, I know how surprisingly easy they are to work with. It's often the subjects that are holding them that are more challenging. I love the placement of the head over the middle eye. I think that's really good use of point of interest to give us somewhere to look to. I find some of the hand placements a little bit forced underneath, and for me to elevate it to the next level, a real simple crop. This is screaming panoramic to me. Let's cut a panoramic in there, draw our attention into those eyes. I would also advise the creator to revisit calibration software, revisit color checking, and make sure that those yellow tones in that python aren't descending into green, and make sure that we're making the most out of the hair color of those girls to really give us a strong image with good color impact.
All right, excellent feedback. Next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 83, a silver award. Thank you. Can I get a comment, please, from Francis?
What a beautiful connections between this group of family. Look, I believe, I assume they're sisters, but it doesn't really matter if they're sisters or not. What a absolutely gorgeous, beautiful portrait. The way it is posed, the composition, every hand, every element in this image has been thought through. Where the hair goes, where the hand go. Just stunning. I just blown away how the photographer has done that. I just found maybe a little bit in the lighter tones. It's just a tiny little bit muddy in some of the lighter areas. Maybe a little bit more contrast could be added to bring that out even more. But just the faces and everything is beautifully done, beautifully handled.
All right, thank you, Francis. Amazing feedback. Before we have our next image, we'll do another quick judge change. If I could bring you back on, please, Amber. And James, we'll give you a little break. And we'll have our next image, please. thank you, judges. We have a score of 81, a silver award. All right, can I get a comment, please, from Hannah?
As a parent, I can relate to this image so hard. I mean, that's what it was like, right? When the kids were young and people were pulling you in all different directions at once. So, I mean, the storytelling here is exceptional. So really well done. I was just looking a bit at the colors to maybe elevate this image further, evening out the skin tones or maybe a different choice of color in the background, possibly considering black and white to really let us focus on this story here, which is the point of this image. But it is creative and so much fun and just a strong story, so I love it. Well done.
All right, thank you, Hannah. Next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 80, a silver award. Emma, you're right on the average. Can I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Such a strong portrait, and you know, I think that storytelling with the snake skin on the lady's skin herself really comes through. Again, great placement of snake's head. So using that snake, as much as possible. For me to elevate it slightly higher, there's a line sort of camera left down at the bottom there that just keeps drawing my attention away. But I love the strength in her face, and actually I love the color palette as well. The color of her eyes, the color of her hair, the color of the snake. For me, it all works really nicely with that green background.
All right, thank you. Great feedback. Let's have our next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 77, a highly commended. Could I get a comment, please, from Harriet?
Yeah, there's definitely some lovely storytelling happening here, and I can tell the photographer is really sort of engaged with these three characters and communicating this sort of story of, I'm assuming, sisterhood and maybe the older sister looking after the younger ones. There is a sort of very warm color tone that's coming across, which seems quite intentional, but it's potentially a little overdone. And the round crop is sort of making my eye sort of tilt to the kind of left-hand side. I think with the older sister sort of leaning in, I'm sort of feeling like it's a little uneven. And there's the hands in the front of the frame are a little bit. I'm getting drawn to those hands as well, which are very evident there. But there's the connection between the three characters here, and the beautiful kind of eyes closed while the older sister looks on is definitely a lovely story that's coming through.
All right, great feedback. Thank you, Harriet. Can we have our next image, please? thank you, judges. We have a score of 78, highly commended. And you're all really quite close there to the average. Amber, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, certainly. I really enjoyed these three portraits together. I think it's a lovely narrative of this child who is clearly quite an animal lover, although I'm not sure that the animals are enjoying being squeezed as much as she's enjoying squeezing them. I think that in order to elevate a series like this, it would be nice to see the child holding the animals slightly differently in a way that they could make the composition of the three complement each other a little more. But I do applaud the photographer for the joy that emanates from the girl in these images, and I particularly love the face of the cat.
All right, great feedback. Before we have our next image, we might do another quick judge change here. Amber, I'm going to get you to jump off again. We're going to bring James back on. And we're going to bring Boots on, and I'll just pop off Emma. So we should have our next 5 judges ready to go with our next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 82, a silver award. All right. I might grab a comment if I can from you, James.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, an easy to understand image. The concept and the impact is there on display. Good use of shape throughout the image, that triangle drawing our eye down into the lower half of this maternity portrait, where the woman is displayed there in a very heavily stylized fashion context. It splits that line between maternity and fashion almost. I felt when I go in a little closer, some refinement around the processing of the hand. There was some blurred edges there, which looked like they need a little bit of refinement in post-production. And some of the reds in both the boots and the hat were not being held particularly well. Super high contrasty without the detail in there, without the refinement in the color. And just those few little elements may have elevated it to the next level. But congratulations on the silver.
Yeah, well done. Thank you, James. Next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 79, a highly commended. And we might get a comment if we can from Harriet. Thank you.
I just wanted to comment on this because it's just so bizarre and wonderful. I don't think I've ever quite seen an image like this, and I'm really sort of surprised by it. And yeah, I can't quite figure it out, but I just think it's great. The expression on the girl's face is wonderful, and I have no idea what's going on with that mannequin man person. But I just think well done for originality and uniqueness. There could be elements like really just stop working on the lighting and the set and like figuring out how to really make these images much more dynamic, because you've got a great concept here and a really interesting, strange idea. And just with a bit more attention to sort of some technical prowess, you could really kind of start doing amazing things with this idea.
Excellent feedback. Thank you so much. Frances, did you want to add a quick comment?
Yes, look, yes, just a very quick comment. I do actually agree with Harriet. The concept is great, and what I saw in it, that child really rules. She is driving the car, she is riding that horse, she is the boss, and she tells everyone what to do. And I think that comes out really, really well in that image. So the concept is really fantastic, yes.
All right. Thank you, Frances. Next image, please. For everyone on our live YouTube stream of this, you are witnessing the top 30 images in the family category. Thank you, judges. Just waiting on one more score. We have a score of 83, a silver award.
Can I elect? Yeah, I can challenge.
Sure can. Harriet's on 90. She's going to challenge.
Yeah, I think this is just a really impactful and powerful image. I think the photographer's done a really great job in keeping those monochrome kind of textures quite contained, which is great. Like, I think there's no super highlights, there's no really dark areas, so technically the image is great. That fish is just so wonderful, and the way it stands out on that person's body is really beautiful. The hand that stands out on the other person's body, yeah, this play between black and white, and just really, really lovely, I think. And the more I look at it, the more sort of engaged with it I am. I can see that there are a few little things that I'm sure my fellow judges might pick up on, but I would love to hear what you think, because I just really feel like this is such an impactful image that really kind of, I put it into the gold range. I nipped it just in there. And I just think if this image doesn't kind of stop us in our tracks, then I'm not sure what's going to.
All right. Thank you, Harriet. We have a couple of people wanting to speak about this image. So we might go to James first.
Oh, thank you. What an opportunity to speak about really, as Harriet alludes to, an image that has immediate impact, good connection with the camera, with the subjects looking towards us. I placed this 77, placing it in the highly commended. When I started to go into the faces and look at the detail, I felt that there was maybe an elective choice to put on grain afterwards, maybe to save some sharpness that wasn't there, or maybe to give it a timeless feel that maybe wasn't there. And then when I started to look around the image a little bit more, I noticed that above the spear on the right-hand side, we had a shadow of points on a trident, or a quadrant in this case, that have not been photoshopped correctly. And that was holding me back from pushing it into any award above highly commended. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but I just felt the need to bring that to the panel's attention, and I'm going to keep it short.
Thank you, James. We might get a comment, if we can, from Hannah.
Yeah, I mean,
here.
I score this an 83 for the exact reason that James gave, like that shadow or the cloning mistake above the spear. It's unfortunate because it is a very striking portrait and there's lots to love about it. One more thing to point out is that it's got an almost symmetry to it. So if those two spears, if the angle of those could have been matched between them, it would have helped enhance that symmetry and bring it up a little bit more.
All right, thank you, Hannah. Harriet, for your right of reply, please.
Yeah, okay. So I agree with okay, yeah, that's an error, obviously, that you can't leave in an editing mistake like that, unfortunately. But you know, these things happen. I think the rest of the image really is beautiful. I think the storminess of the sea, that beautiful like rain clouds over the weather that you see coming in through the cliff faces over there, that's just stunning. Yeah, I think there's been some post-production put on it. There's some grain and there's a bit of softness there. I don't know. I think that kind of adds to the feeling of the image. I think images are stories, and they've kind of created that, and maybe that's to save a bit of sharpening. I think it adds to the element of the image, if it, in this case. But yeah, unfortunately, those little spearheads are very frustrating. Other than that, a beautiful image. So look, I encourage you, we all make mistakes, so maybe just encourage you to come up for the rest of the reasons why this image is beautiful, and just forgive a little bit.
All right, thank you so much, Harriet. If you could please keep your score at 90, and judges, if you could please rescore. And we have a score of 83 at a silver award. Thank you so much. Great conversation there. Now we're going to do another quick judge change here. No, we'll go on with our next image. We'll wait another image or so. One more score to come through. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 84, a silver award.
Challenge.
Thank you, James.
No worries.
Take it away.
Okay, scored this 92, placing in the gold outstanding image, showing excellence in concept, craft and impact, confidently original and emotionally powerful, with few or any distractions. And it's the confidently original and emotionally powerful that I'd like to draw the panel's attention to. The emotionally powerful, you probably don't need me to point out why this is emotionally powerful. And hopefully people at home will be able to see the detail in the image as to why that is the case. But it's the confidently original. We see a lot of these images in competition, a lot of these stories, and there won't be many people certainly watching today or even on the panel who haven't been impacted by some sort of journey into poor health. And it's easy as photographers, when we are given these subjects, to photograph them in a dramatic way, in what we would call an emotional way that draws on strength and empowerment, but in the darker aspects of it. It's so pleasing to see someone look so happy. In this image, and surrounded by a generation where legacy can continue. So I would implore my judges to revisit it to see how we can celebrate this. I've placed it firmly in gold, and I believe it has all of the elements to at least bring it into a distinctive category. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Boots, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, I agree with everything that James has says. This is very impactful and striking image that's been really well crafted, beautiful posing, love the light. I'm just a little I think this story, James said, A Journey with Ill Health, could be read that way, or it could also be read another way, whether this might have been a different story of a choice being made here by this individual. I'm not really sure how much to say about that, but she's definitely being, or they are definitely being embraced into this by their family, and I love that they're all leaning on that individual, and the strength that's coming through from that person who has travelled down this road, but she's the one, or sorry, they're the one that's giving us the strength.
Thank you, Boots. Hannah, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, I scored this an 86, and I'm with you, James. This is an extremely emotional and powerful portrait. There's so much love in this portrait, like it's radiating love, right? The love that this family has for each other, and especially for this person in the middle, and all the hardships that they have gone through. So it's super strong, and I particularly enjoy the fact that they are making the shape of a heart. If you look at them with their heads and their shoulders and their arms, oh, I'm getting Zoom is adding hearts now. So that's exceptionally beautiful, and I wish that we could have enhanced that heart just a little bit more by toning down the belly of the youngest boy, to really preserve the light areas as this heart shape. And maybe just tweak the arm of the guy on the right-hand side a little bit to form that perfect heart. One more thing is maybe to look at the crop. We want to get close, and as close as we can get with an intense and emotional portrait like this. So maybe cut out a little bit on the sides to get even closer. But I mean, these are comments on the margin, and I am definitely willing to come up a few points more, because this is making me quite emotional. So well done.
Thank you, Hannah. James, your right of reply, please.
I'm with you, and I really tip my hat to Boots for drawing my attention to a much more clear narrative within the picture that I'd missed on first impressions. And thank you so much for that. That's actually made it a stronger image for me. I believe that we're doing everything that Hannah has exemplified in her feedback there. That we're showcasing love, irrespective of any conditions or any preconceptions or anything. This is a family where love is really the only thing. And as family photographers, those emotional connections, those relationships are the things that we're trying to put across, display, and celebrate. And so I implore the panel to review it, rejudge it, and hopefully bring it up into the next level.
Thank you, James. If you could keep your score at 92, and judges, if you could please re-enter your scores. We have a score of 90, a gold award. Well done. Great conversation. We're all clapping, everyone, on the live stream. We are all cheering.
Thank you. Thank you, panel.
Great discussion. Now, before we have our next image, we'll do another quick judge change. Thank you, Harriet. Thank you, Hannah. And we're going to bring on Emma, and we're going to bring on Amber. All right, judges, next image, please. We're just waiting on one more score. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 82, a silver award. And you're relatively close, except for...
I'll have a challenge on that one again. I'm sorry. I don't want to okay, yeah, challenge, obviously.
Never
yeah, please,
apologize. Never, ever apologize.
never
James,
apologize.
take it away.
Okay, so I place this at 87 in the silver with distinction, because I believe it does do certain things within a photographer's arsenal. The photographer has showcased certain tools and assets as a photographer that they have used to elevate this beyond silver. And if anyone watching this needs an example of what Gen Z want from their family photos, it's this. They want authenticity. They want believability. This is posed but it doesn't feel posed. It doesn't look posed. The connection with that daughter looking straight into the camera, right in the middle of the frame, is pin sharp. A beautiful use of depth of field, but it's the real connection and real impact and real emotion. The subtle use of wind to blow the hair across the face gives us that natural feel. And the mum, crucially, is a part of it, but she isn't the center of it. And that's exactly, that's a huge generalization, but from what I see as a family photographer, it is what mums kind of want from their family photos. They want to be in it, but not in it. Love the showcase and the S-curve working from the top right down to the bottom left, and the color harmony is simple throughout. Good choice of outfits and a good use of a high key backdrop. I implore my judges to have a look at this and reconsider it, and I'd love to hear their feedback.
All right, thank you, James. Francis, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yes, thank you for pointing all that out, James. That's that is fabulous, and I actually will come up. I probably was even a bit harsh on. I was on the 80. You are right. The especially the expression of the girl is amazing. I particularly enjoy the composition of the image of the various triangles running through the image. I think that works really, really well. What brought it back a little bit for me, just the skin tone of the girl in the middle, I found that a little bit light, and it just sort of draws me more to her cheeks rather than her eyes. So I get a little bit distracted with looking into these beautiful eyes. But yes, I do agree that all the color tones, composition, and especially the feel of the mother-daughter portrait is absolutely stunning.
All right, thank you, Francis. Amber.
Thank you for challenging this image, James. I was on 82, and I agree, there really is something very powerful about this image. I particularly love the echo of the mum's silver hair with the textures that are going on with the greys and the knitwear. I think that's really beautiful. The thing that held me back down on 82 was I just really feel like the crop is uncomfortably tight in a few areas. The on the top of the mum's head there, it just feels like it's a little bit in the wrong place, and the hand on the left-hand side just feels uncomfortably close to the side of the frame. So if it wasn't for that, I would definitely come up. But if you can explain those to me, then maybe I could move.
All right, thank you, Amber. James, your right of reply.
Thank you very much, judges, and thank you very much for your feedback. I appreciate Francis's comments within triangles within that piece, and certainly the bond between mother and daughter that she points out is key to this image. The reason why their face is a little lighter in the middle of the picture with the daughter than the mother is because we want to draw our eye. We want that to be the lightest part of the image. We want our eye to go there first and then work around the picture. Completely agree with Amber that the crop is a little tight, which is why maybe it can't be elevated to the next level and beyond into gold. But I would struggle to see where in the pantheon of photographic history this image doesn't sit. It's completely timeless. It would look great 30 years ago. It's going to look amazing in 30 years' time. And the reason why I didn't draw attention, as Amber did and alluded to the grey hair, is because as the token male on a panel exclusively of females, I know better than to cast judgment on a woman's physical appearance. I love the bond. I love the emotion. I love the connection. And I implore my judges to revisit and see if we can't reward this a little higher.
All right, James, thank you for your feedback, for your challenge. If you could keep your score on 87, and judges, if you could please rescore this. Just waiting on one more score. Emma, can I get your score, please? Thank you, judges. We have a silver with distinction. Get it out, Kelly. An 85. Well done. And we had some great feedback. Let's have our next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 80, a silver award. If I can, please grab a comment from Emma.
I really like this portrait. What I really, really appreciate is that the authentic skin texture has been left. It's a very honest portrait, and I like that the attention is drawn to the centre of focus, which is the bum, but also acknowledges the mum as well. For me, I'd like to have just seen a bit more of her face camera right, so maybe a bit more light coming round her face, maybe by turning her face, towards the light a bit more. But I really like the authenticity of this image, and I think that it's been handled really well.
All right, thank you. Next image, please. Thank you, judges. We have a score of 80, a silver award. All right. Might get a comment, if I can, from Amber. You're right on the average there.
Yeah, sure. I really enjoy the narrative coming through from this image. It's got my reading of it is it's quite a sad story that the man has time, and for some reason the woman doesn't have time. I'm not sure quite what else that's telling us. But I definitely get quite a sad vibe from the image overall. Perhaps it's about their relationship or something individual, I'm not sure. The things that held me down from scoring the strong narrative any higher was just the little attention to detail, like the sort of the vertical line on the right-hand side and on the background is quite distracting, and there's a few unusual things happening below the woman's feet. So I'm not sure if that's a compositing issue or quite how that happened. Also, the skin tones do look a little bit sallow and slightly green, which perhaps is part of the narrative, but I'm just not getting enough of a reading from it. But overall, it's a really interesting image that keeps asking questions, which is always good.
All right, excellent feedback. Thank you, Amber. Can we please have our next image? Thank you, judges. We have a score of 84, a silver award.
Can I challenge that, please?
Absolutely. We have a challenge from Emma. Take it away.
I absolutely adore this image. I think it's posed but authentic. It's controlled but doesn't have a boundary. The use of colour for me, the warmth adds to the love that's coming through the screen but isn't overdone. The lighting is soft, but the men are strong. I just think there's so many juxtapositions that work so nicely together to build that connection and that feeling of strength but softness. And I really think that this has been handled in such a way that it needs to be looked at again.
All right. Thank you, Emma. James, can I get a comment from you, please?
Absolutely. Love to comment on this image, and thank you very much, Emma, for challenging. I scored this 81, placing it as a strong and creative image with clear strengths in concept, technique, and impact. Easy to understand narrative. If you're given subjects like this to photograph in studio, your job's halfway there. I love the placement of the tattoo and the placement of the people within the frames to have that swooping eagle coming in from the bottom left, from the top left, sorry, into the picture is really, really well handled. I just found a few things difficult to make me bring it into the next level. I found the post-processing across the whole skin, across the whole image, to feel slightly artificial. It didn't feel authentic. It felt slightly overworked. And the hand coming down through the bottom of the image there, just disembodied there from not really the sleeve, it's where it's being pulled across. So there's no real conjoining texture for the conjoining narrative for that into the rest of the print. I'm not entirely sure what it's adding to the print as a whole. And I just feel that this sort of connection, this sort of symmetry could have benefited from a square crop to really draw our eye into the picture. But I want to hear what everyone else has to say, and I'm willing to move.
All right, thank you, James. Boots, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yeah, sure. There's a definite connection. We've got that nice lighting, great color tone. Just a couple of little issues on the guy on the left with his chin. There's something just a little odd about some of the post-processing work done there. And yeah, I agree with James. I just felt like the skin has had a treatment that's just a little bit distracting.
All right, thank you. And back to you, Emma, for your right of reply, please.
Thank you for your comments, judges. I quite like the gritty texture of the skin. For me, it adds to that the kind of tussle between hard and soft and strong and yeah. So for me, it's not a distraction. I quite like the grittiness of it in general. But for me, it's the expression in their faces just overrides everything. I think it's a really strong image that shows connection. So even if we can get it up into a distinction category, that would make me happy.
All right, thank you, judges. Emma, if you could keep your score at 92, and judges, if you could please rescore. And it stays at 84, but great discussion, excellent feedback. Thank you so much, judges. That was our final image of the top 30 of the family category for the Australian Photographic Prize. Amazing feedback, amazing comments from all of our judges. Thank you all so much. And I'm going to throw it right back to Robin.
Thanks so much, Kelly. Wow, what an inspirational session that was. I tell you what, I've been involved in judging for over 25 years, and I tell you what, I never fail to sort of feel moved when I see judges become moved by what they're seeing in front of them. So thank you, judges. You really gave it your all, and our entrants really appreciate your passion as well. And thank you so much, Kelly, for your expertise. You always guide our sessions with such eloquence and grace. We really appreciate it. So that concludes the live judging for the family category for the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize. A huge thank you to everyone involved in tonight. Thank you so much to our incredible entrants whose work continues to inspire all of our judges and everyone else watching online, no doubt. If you didn't make it in the top 20 this year or top 30 this year, please take on some of this wonderful information and guidance and advice that's been provided tonight, and take it, use it, and bring it to your entries next year. You know, take them to that next level. It's in you, you can do it, use it as inspiration. Thank you so much to our incredible technical crew, everyone behind the scenes for making it all go so beautifully. And of course, our amazing sponsors, Nikon, AZO, KL, Godox, Ilford, Photography Studies College, and Print Shop. And of course, everyone tuning in, thanks so much for being here and supporting this fantastic event. We hope that you've enjoyed seeing all of this judging from the other perspective rather than just getting a number and learning along the way. So don't forget, the winners of this category will be revealed during our live awards presentation next Sunday. So put it in your calendars, make sure you're there. Alrighty, until then, have a good night.
photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.